No, but this one, okay. Alright, good evening and welcome to Sports Extraordinary on Atlantic Television Network. On today's edition of the show, reaction continues to trade the defeat of Anthony Joshua to Daniel Deboa. And coming in from Etihad, bad news for Manchester City as Rodri will be absent, subject to medical confirmation. And then we'll take a look at Arsenal. I mean, reaction also follows that 2-2 draw at Etihad. And so all these will form bulk of the conversation on today's edition of the show. Airport Temple is my name. I'll go on a short break now. When I come back, we'll have more to converse this evening on Sports Extraordinary.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today. Only on ATN.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is power.
Joining us is Sports Extraordinary here on Atlantic Television Network. Let's start with boxing news this evening, and of course, after that bout against Joshua, the person already tilting and pushing the boys, to prepare for a heavyweight clash with Usyk. And the big question is, how do they know that Usyk will win again against Anthony Joshua, against Tyson Fury, Mike?
Well, it's looking likely because the odd from Opta and some other various octopus out there have also, made their own predictions. So for me, I think it's looking likely that Alexander Usyk might probably win the rematch against Gypsy King. Taking a look at the first, fight, how the thing actually panned out, it was very glaring that Tyson Fury it's not that Tyson Fury people used to fear about, because if you take a look at how Alexander Usyk was able to, follow him up, take him to the corner, didn't even give him that breathing space, and to also allow him come close to him, because there is one dirty tactics that Tyson Fury uses. He's very tall, very bulky, has a very fat tummy. So whenever he comes close to you, and you try to, shield yourself away from him, he'll just drag you down and use his weight, over you, and thereby suffocating you. That has been the tactics. It has been discovered from so many fighters that is what he does. And that is why you go back and watch that first game against Alexander Usyk. Usyk didn't give him that opportunity to lean and cover him with his tummy and his weight as well. So he was very far while throwing the jab and was very quick. He didn't even allow him to settle down. So if you take a look at all the indices, and from Optas, their prediction are there, is actually tilting towards the side or favor of Alexander Usyk to win this very rematch as it is. And that is why people are already tipping him, to be the man that is going to square off against Daniel Dubois.
Well, with the one guy I saw from the interview granted by Box Nation to Tyson Fury, he said the millions of dollars in his account mean nothing to him, makes no sense to him. He has money. He said that he has money, but I mean, that hunger of the defeat, or coming back to win and take what belongs to him, is his biggest driver motivation.
Well, for me, Tyson Fury, he always knows how to always joke with the media out there and try to pull some stunt in terms of the media hype out there. I think he has gained, his mastery over how he relates with the media out there. Every time he makes a statement, he's being blown out of proportion because of the way the man carries himself. He's a very proud. Some people say it is arrogant, but then I think his self-belief and also his own tactics as well. Heading to a major fight, you see him ranting, you see him, threatening brimstone and fire against his opponent. It's one of the tactics. Is quite understandable. But then I think for Tyson Fury, if you take a look at the way the first fight panned out, I know he must be very, very angry. Though let's not take it for granted this time around that he has said that even the money that he has is not even enough to give him joy and happiness. But then his joy and happiness comes from a vendetta, revenge, or a revenge mission rather, against Alexander Usyk, which we are waiting to see come this December. So if there is anything to go by from the camp of the Gypsy King, I tell you, he's not a happy man as it is right now, having lost that bout against Alexander Usyk. And I know he will be preparing heavily to make a return come this December to see if he can be able to take a pound of flesh against Alexander Usyk.
Now, on that day, on that night, on 21st, when we saw that bout between Anthony Joshua and Daniel Dubois, we saw a lot of boxers. Some names that ordinarily you don't want to. You are surprised, like Luis Lenos. I was surprised to get to see him, looking so in his age. He was looking so young, and they all came out. It means that the boxing world really have mixed boxing fight, and I'm wondering why we're not getting to see more of this fight at that level. What is the IBF, the WBC, the WBO? What are they doing? The boxing councils, what are they doing to ensure that we stage more of this fight? And no wonder in the place of boxing, if you watch, been following WWE, you get to see more of wrestling. People come out to watch wrestling. That means the money that they would have made or accrued goes more to other things, because our fans are hungry to get to see what is some of these events.
Like I said earlier, in the boxing federation, there are divisions and there are categories. You don't just jump from one division or one category to another just because there are procedures. And of course, it takes them time and a painstaking plan as well to ensure that they organize these games. And of course, if you take a look at the boxing world and the boxing fight, the arrangement, there is none that you will ever say that it was a flawed process, that the process wasn't professional, that the process was marred with controversy. And no. Why? Because they take their time out there no one fight that will come from that we say, yes, the last edition was better than this one when you talk about the heavyweight bout. There's something significant about every bout out there, and that is why they take out their time. That is why whenever any heavyweight bout comes up, you see some of these creme de la cremes in the world of sport, even the present and ex-boxers, they even from the octagon as well, you know, coming to watch. The likes of Evander Holyfield, Lennox Lewis, Terry Ray, name them. Even Conor McGregor in the UFC was present as well. Not also forgetting Israel Adesanya, who also had bets on Anthony Joshua to win that very one. $10,000 he bets on Anthony Joshua to win. So I think the reason is very simple. The boxing world, they are very, very organized. They are way more organized compared to other, you know, boxing related activity, more like the octagon and the rest of it, where you can know to see fight every week or every now and then. So for me, I think it's very, very peculiar, very special. That is why no one single bout is the same like the other. And it looks like the IBF are also in the hierarchy of organization. The IBF has a very well-planned pattern things. When they went for the Wembley Stadium, contains 96,000 fans, filled up to its brim. We've seen over this is not the first time that they've been able to achieve such level of spectatorship. So it looks like in the councils, in the boxing council, the IBF has a structure that works out better for them. Yeah, it has, because it's more like, you know, unlike what we saw in the cruiserweight division. In the IBF title, it's more like you having one step into getting to that stardom. You know, so for me, you need to gain proper balance. You need to have proven beyond reasonable doubt from the amateur category until you made your professional debut, to go to the lightweight division, to cruiserweight division, then, you know, get into the IBF belt contender. I mean, at that point, you are in between. You see that you are in or you are out. At this point in time, you need to be very, very cautious, because that IBF title is a place that puts you in a prominent place. If you get to win it and cross that very stage, then you have made it, because you have now joined the heavyweight bout division. Any time, any day that, you know, the best of boxers are mentioned, you definitely be reckoned. And that is why you can't forget in a hurry the name Bash Ali, Terry Ray, Lennox Lewis. These are people that have also made their own mark as well. So for me, that is why the IBF title is always very, very significant for any fighter out there hoping to make his way up to the top ranking. The IBF title, very, very important as the International Boxing Federation heavyweight champion now. We're talking about the boy, a lot has been said about it. But let's move on now to some football matters. Let's talk about the Nigeria Premier Football League. We saw all that played out, you know, in the league last time out. We saw all the home teams, you know, not getting a win, some drawing, and while some losing in fine fashion. In fact, we saw high number of away wins last match 3 in the Nigerian Premier Football League. But somehow, some of the coaches have been reacting. Abdallah thinks that the loss at home, I mean, not very happy at all. Of course, they got 3-0 against Korodu, but losing to Remo Stars. Osman Abdallah is thinking that this should not be. When you lose at home in front of your home fans, although that game wasn't played in Kano, their usual ground, but at the Mohammed Diko Stadium in Katsina, yet it's still their home, because the fans came out in massive number, yet they could not grant that a draw, not even talking of getting to win that game. For me, you know, a loser will always find a way to cry foul when it doesn't favor you, and that is what Coach Abdallah is referring to here. For me, that is the way I see this opinion, and for me, it is not acceptable excuses. You have lost, you have lost. I think they should also learn how to, you know, do post-match analysis in the media as well. He talked about this some time ago, trying to compare them with the European-based coaches out there. You see, the European coaches, whenever they get to lose, win, or draw a match. They come to give you a technical and tactical analysis of how the game went, because they are there, with their system, monitoring every situation, taking down the statistics and data as relates with the game out there. So when they come out to the press, they give a very, very sound and were better prepared than you. What were you doing during the course of the pre-season tournament or the pre-season preparation before the start of the season?
Well, similarly, Kwara United Football Club of Lorraine coach Tunde Sane has also blamed his players for the team's barren draw against VCT Ikorodu City. The man thinks that the players were not on point, didn't bring out their best, or were not at their best in that particular encounter in match 3. They lost, they drew at home to Ikorodu City, ensuring that for the first time in the history of Ikorodu City, in the Nigerian Premier Football League, they now have a draw to hold on to.
Yes, for me, more like another far cry out there. I think they should also learn, more like what I just talked about. Our coaches should also learn to not to throw blames at their players out there, because it's an indictment on his part trying to, call out the players for poor result. As a coach of the side, what you do after the game, whether your team lose, is to also see how you can be able to take some positive, from the match and move for a way, look for a way forward, and not to come publicly to the media to start criticizing your player. In fact, if you do this in Europe, I think those players, they will gang up against you, and before you know it, you get booted out of the club. It's the responsibility of a coach is to also protect the image of the players, even on the media especially. That is why coaches like Ten Hag or sometimes criticized when he comes out playing to the media, to take a dig at his own players. I mean, when a coach speaks down of his player, what do you expect others to do for your player? So it's more like denigrating or disrespecting the efforts of the players, and our coaches as well should desist from doing that, so that at least the players will have that confidence. Because if you come to the media to blame the players of not living up to expectation, it means that the players' morale will be dampened, because to them they will be like, oh, our coach doesn't have trust or believe in us, so therefore let's just go out there and do our thing in our own way. The coach might even try to give a tactics that will work for him, but because of the fact that he has taken a dig at some of those players, that acrimony will be there from the heart of the player. They might not even want to carry out the instructions given to them by coaches on the pitch of play. And of course, as a coach, your duty is to stand on the touchline. You cannot jump into the field to carry out those instructions that you've given.
Meanwhile, the 2025 African Cup of Nations qualifying match 4 encounter between the Super Eagles of Nigeria and their Libyan counterpart has gotten a new venue. Bottom team Libya has opted to host Group D, leaders Nigeria, at the Matters of Benina Stadium, and the return leg fixture, of course. And so on the 11th, we'll get to see them play in Uyo, and then on the travel back, they will play in a stadium that is 19 kilometers outside the country's second city, known previously as the Hugo Chavez Stadium. It has a 10,000 capacity facility with artificial turf, and that's why a lot of people have been talking, because the Nigerian team aren't used to playing artificial turf.
Well, it could be a very difficult one, but then if you consider the size of the stadium, I think it is also an advantage to us from the new pattern that we are playing right now. More like what we used to say, the monkey post kind of football. You have to hold on to the ball, knock it around within the smallest space that you have. You need to maximize it, and if you gain mastery over the little monkey post, in quotes, the way we call it here, then if you get to any other standard pitch that is not up to that standard, it will even be okay for you to hold on to the ball position, knock it around within the small spaces that you have, and it gives you advantage over your opponent. So for me, I think it will all work out for our own favor. Despite the fact that they are not playing their familiar ground, it means that they are even not that solid at home, because most of the home crowd that always turn out for them in their usual familiar ground will not be there this time around, though they will have their home support as well, but then it's more like playing away from home for them. So for me, I think it's more like an advantage for even the Super Eagles.
All right, let's see how far it pans out, but one thing I know for sure is that the Super Eagles will be preparing to play, and let's see. And this round of matches is very important, because this could just be the last one for the year, the double header.
Definitely very, very important. Match day 3 and match day 4. Nigeria, also staying comfortably at the top of our table right now, winning 1, drawing 1, scored 3 goals, considered none. I think it behoves on us to continue firing this way so that at least in the African Cup of Nations qualifier, we know that we should be the first among the rest team to at least come out first and top our group. So this round of game 3, game 4 in the African Cup of Nations qualifier 2025 is going to be very, very crucial for all teams, especially for the Super Eagles.
Very crucial for all teams, especially the Super Eagles of Nigeria. We'll go on another break, and when we come back this time, we'll talk club football here on Atlantic Television, Sports Extraordinary.
The people of Maiduguri need your help. A catastrophic flood has engulfed the city, leaving over 1 million residents stranded and fighting for survival. Entire communities are submerged, with people trapped inside homes and on rooftops cut off from food, clean drinking water and essential supplies. Health experts are warning of a potential outbreak of deadly diseases, and medical facilities are out of commission. The situation is dire. Helicopters, boats and high-riding trucks capable of navigating the treacherous, waterlogged areas are urgently required to reach the countless men, women and children still awaiting rescue. The Nigerian media is issuing a desperate plea to the government, humanitarian organizations, international actors and citizens across the nation. Step in now, before it's too late. For more information on how you can help, contact Professor Usman A. Tar, the Honorable Commissioner for Information and Internal Security, Borno State, on 0809-233-3955. Every second counts.
This is powered by Atlantic Television Network.
From the lines across the ocean to the land beyond the mountains, through the Sahara, we bring all the sport news, live analysis, expert discussions on trending stories in politics, business, socio-economic, sports, and documentaries. So catch all the updates on the happenings around the globe. Stay focused on the fact today, only on ATN.
Alright, welcome back from that break. If you're just joining us, it's still Sports Extra here on Atlantic Television Network. Let's get started now with club football. And of course, it was yesterday the news of a major setback in this Manchester City setup emerged as star midfielder Rodrigo was set to be ruled out for the rest of the season. Now, this is not just any new challenge. It's about his sustained a new injury in his ligament, cruciate ligament. That means a lot of work needs to be done. Mike, when a player tears his anterior cruciate ligament, that seems to be a big challenge for such player because it is one of the most, a very terrible injury a player can ever have, and not a very cheerful one if you're a Manchester City fan.
A very, very disturbing one at this point in time. The ACL injury, when it happens to players, they just know it that going to be 8 months, 10 months, 9 months out injured. And from report, it looks as though he's going to be out of the season as it is for Manchester City, talking about Rodri, a very crucial player for the citizens out there. His absence alone means a lot, for the title chase for Manchester City. Because 48 games that he has started since throughout last season down till now, Manchester City is on record, have not lost any game. In fact, whenever Rodri gets to start a game for Manchester City doesn't lose that game. He has maintained that since. In fact, this man talking about Rodri is the engine room. People are talking about Kevin De Bruyne, but then I think Manchester City can do without.
Until recently, he's not that visible man, but he does a lot of dirty job at the heart of the midfield.
True. So for me, I think it's going to be a very trying time for Manchester City. Having seen that this injury would take him probably out of the season, the entire season, leaving Kovacic to take that position. Kovacic is not that technical.
Yeah, in fact, as a matter of fact, Mike, his inability, his deficiencies was made very, very visible at the last Euros when Croatia, could not also hold their own with the arrays of stars that they have. That midfield, Kovacic was unable to tender, good, backing to Modric and the likes.
So I think for me it's a troubling time, like I said, for Manchester City. Losing Rodri as it is, their midfield maestro, I think it's going to be a very difficult one. Even when he was out injured, Kovacic came in, but you can still see the lapses from Kovacic. He's not doing the same work that Rodri does when it matters most. So for me, I think it's a big one. You saw his impact at the Euro as well. Whenever he plays for the Spanish national team, I think you can also see the quality of Rodri. So I tell you, it's not a very happy moment for Manchester City.
But we still have, they said when one is done, others are there. So you ask yourself, isn't it another ample opportunity for another player to shine?
True, there could be the opportunity for other players as well to, take their place as well and make their stake. But then, Pep Guardiola as a coach, before he gives you a trust, you might have proven yourself time and time again before he can truly say, yes, this player, can fit in. I mean, as he stands right now, take a look at how good Julian Alvarez is. But yet, he still preferred to use Erling Braut Haaland. It's one of the reasons why Alvarez had to leave to Atletico Madrid.
True.
And there's no player or a striker that will tell me now that Manchester City is going to buy that will come and bench Erling Braut Haaland. It will take time. Why? Because Pep Guardiola has full trust on Erling Braut Haaland because he understands him. So that is why that is what it is. Pep Guardiola trying to find a solution for the injured Rodri in the midfield. It's going to be a very difficult one for him. He can just patch his way through, but to get another player that will do exact same job that Rodri does for the Manchester City midfield, I think is going to be very, very difficult.
If Manchester City does not win the league this season, will you say it was as a result of this injury?
No. I do not want to, head to that direction because we know how important some players are in the team. In fact, some players are the jokers of a team, but then no single player makes up a team. Football game is a team game, and you cannot single out one man for praise and single out the other for condemnation. It doesn't happen in the game of football. So if Manchester City does not end up winning the league, I will not attribute it to the absence of Rodri because, like I said, you have more than 23 to 25 players to choose from, in your squad. So the injury to one doesn't mean that it is all, it is the end of the road for such team out there. That is why you have large squad for you to choose. In every football position as a team, you must have 2 or 3 players contending for the first spot in that very, in that very wing that you are playing, whether as a central midfielder, whether as a defensive midfielder, as a defender. You must have 2 or 3 players competing, with you on the same, position. So for me, I think that wouldn't hold any water if Manchester City doesn't get to win this year's English Premier League. Then people now attribute it to the absence of Rodri. I do think that Pep Guardiola, with his tactical ingenuity, can still, cover something, even despite the absence of Rodri, and make sure that he is able to cement the loopholes of the absence of Rodri until he comes back.
It's quite unfortunate that Manchester City are emotionally not stable. A few days ago, we saw the trial, the FFB, the Financial Fair Play Rules trial against them that is ongoing, and possibly by the end of this month, hearing should also commence. And so, this is certainly not a good time. But somehow, they are still topping the English Premier League after a few matches played in the season.
Yeah, despite the on-field controversies, I think Manchester City have remained focused on their aims and aspiration of also winning the league 5 straight times to make a massive record for themselves as well. So they are not deterred by the distraction. Of course, Pep Guardiola, the head coach, has been speaking, in different occasions as regard the 115 count charges that he said to commence very soon. He said that they are very happy and they are prepared for this very one, and he's ready to take whatever decision in faith as it comes. So I think they are not bothered at this point in time. Their focus is just to continue to do what they know how to do best in the pitch of play, while they also keep a close eye on the case, how it's going to pan out.
Meanwhile, in North London, Arsenal fans are already, some are jubilating and some knowing the quote and unquote the dark pattern deployed by Coach Arteta. It looks like that is the end thing now, but Arteta has come out to say that it did not deploy any this and that. When you play a good side like Manchester City, you have no doubt but to allow for such an event to play out.
Yes, for me, I think anybody could say whatever they want to say about the tactics deployed by Mikel Arteta over the weekend, to keep at bay Manchester City riotous players when they got that red card, 1 man down, courtesy of that silly mistake from Trossard. I think he needed to do everything possible. Whether you want to play the pack the bus kind of game. It doesn't matter how you get to do it. What matters is that they were able to leave Etihad Stadium, a slaughter ground for the citizen, holding their head very high. In fact,
the last time Arsenal were down in that stadium, they lost 6-0.
So for me, for them to get a valuable point against, a star-studded City side, even with a one-man down, it clearly tells you that it doesn't matter the tactics that they deploy. What matters is that they were able, to go home with at least a point in that very game.
A point in that very game, and of course, many more to come. Mike, before we leave the English Premier League, tomorrow is the start of the Europa Cup, and Manchester United are in for something big, as well as Aston Villa and so as well as in the UEFA Champions League and some other teams there.
Yeah, I think it's another time for Manchester United to see if they can be able to bring back happiness and joy from the faces of their fans out there, because it has been a very difficult and torrid time for Manchester United since last season down till this 2024/2025 season that just kicked off. Manchester City haven't been very convincing so far in this new season. So I think they also need to also show what they are made up of. Erik ten Hag has also been, talking in different areas when he's heavily criticized by a Manchester United legend. He will also find a way to come out with a rejoinder to counter their own criticism. Let's hope that he can go beyond the media defensive pattern of play, and bring out something positive, so that at least the Manchester United fans can be happy once again and give them that glory, that they truly deserve. It was heartbroken last season that Manchester United couldn't even qualify for the top 4. In fact, they had to finish, agonizing 8th position. If not for the FA Cup that they won against Manchester City, I mean, they should have been scrapped out of Europe entirely. Because even Chelsea, that were shortly between 11th and 12th position, came very close to finishing top 4. In fact, they picked up the momentum at the dying minute of the game, at the dying minutes of the league rather, and they finished in 6th position. So for Manchester United, they need to prove a lot to their fans out there come tomorrow.
All right, away from the English Premier League now, let's move now to La Liga Santander, where Real Madrid boss Carlo Ancelotti has confirmed that defender Ferland Mendy has signed a new contract with the club. Ancelotti spoke at his pre-match conference ahead of Madrid's La Liga clash with Alaves today.
Very important player, Ferland Mendy, for Real Madrid. I think it's a good one for you to be able to tie down your great players into a new time contract. It's more like signing a new players. And for Real Madrid and their policy, I think you just need to give it to them. They know how to make good use of players out there. They know how to, also keep their players, very, very happy. There has not been a time where a player left Real Madrid and go back to say negative things about the club. It's very, very rare. Or a player leaving Real Madrid to come and criticize the club. No, Real Madrid doesn't do that. They know how to handle their players, and that is why they are professional to the core. No doubt why they are the powerhouse of a European football as it is. So for me, I think it's a plus for Real Madrid being able to tie down Ferland Mendy, to a new time contract.
And our last talk today on the show, Juventus planning to get back Victor Osimhen. I don't want to buy out the release clause on his contract come January, because Vlahovic is not living up to expectation. Of course, Vlahovic is one player who was very fantastic with the Fiorentina side last season. We saw that played, and the Fiorentina went on the way to the finals of the Europa League, but they lost out to the Bayer Leverkusen. But somehow it looks like this one is not going to be an easy one at all.
Yeah, I think Juventus, they are keeping close eye on Victor Osimhen, progression so far at Galatasaray. If there's anything to go by, I think it's going to be a perfect fit. Having played in the Italian Serie A with, Napoli, I think he's going to fit in seamlessly.
But when you want to go to a club like Juventus, back to Serie A,
I don't know. I think that is left on the table of Victor Osimhen. But if any other club, any other prominent club doesn't come for his signature during the January window, I mean, Juventus could be that perfect option for him, because there's no need of going back to Napoli because their relationship is not that good any longer.
Now he leave Galatasaray and in January and go to Juventus, play your best with Juventus. Get signed back to maybe Chelsea or one of the big clubs. That gamble might just be a very perfect one.
Don't also forget, if he does well for Galatasaray this season, other top European clubs, apart from the old ladies, they will come naturally for his signature.
For the old ladies, they're talking about getting him in January. And that window, of course, that will be a window. And if he gets to play, because he wants to play in Europe.
And that further even highlights other top European clubs